I'm so happy you found Virago 24/7. If you love this podcast, please go to wherever you're listening and rate the show. 5 stars would be very much appreciated. And I wouldn't mind a review as well. And don't forget to share, share, share. Today's show is sponsored by the Healing Life Institute, where they are passionate about your personal growth and healing. They offer support and guidance to help you discover your inner strength and move into a more authentic and vibrant way of living. Hi, I am your host, Leonette Talley, and you are listening to Virago 24/7. Virago is Latin for female warrior, and 24/7 is for all day, every day. Virago 24/7 is a weekly podcast that brings diverse women together to talk about life and our experiences in this world. We share our views on self-love, mental health, marriage, children, friendships, and really anything that needs to be talked about. Here, you will find everyday growth, everyday healing with everyday warriors. So on today's show, I want to welcome back Brit Morris. We've heard her a few times already. And actually, I'll take it back. I've recorded with her a few times. You guys just haven't heard all of the episodes. So stay tuned to that. But welcome back, Brit Morris.
Oh, thank you, Lena, for having me. I'm so excited to be back.
Well, I love it because the topic that we thought about doing that she brought up to me is all about romantic relationships. And in the spirit of Valentine's Day coming this Sunday, I believe, or this week. Is it Sunday?
It's Sunday.
It's on Sunday. We thought that we would do this episode on romantic relationships. And she has a program with her practice. And she's going to tell us all about it. It's a challenge. It's Heal Your Relationship. Is that correct, Brit?
Correct. It's a 30-day boot camp for healing your relationship. It's one of my favorite products that I've come out with. It's just so good because it's 30 days to intentionally, like if you're struggling in your current relationship, or if you have or if you're not in a relationship and you're questioning, like, should I go back to this relationship or not? Mm-hmm. Or really how to date. It's just really how you can find just a relationship that's good for you. And it's really about learning to value yourself. Mm-hmm. And then I share with everyone, do you know what the number one relationship killer is? Why do this kills? And this doesn't even have to be your romantic relationship. This is the number one thing that causes a relationship to die.
In my world, I would say communication, but I don't know if that's the number one.
Yeah.
But the lack of communication.
Right. Yes and no. And okay. So I fine point it a little bit more. It's how you handle conflict.
Okay. Which goes back to how you communicate. Okay. Yeah.
Exactly. And if we all have a conflict language, you know, the famous, like the love language, right? Mm-hmm. You know, we all know do you know your love language? Do you know,
I
do you know what I'm talking about when I refer to the
I know my love language and I know my husband's love language and he knows mine. Yes, definitely.
So what is your love language?
I like quality time. I need someone to show me, be with me, hang out with me. Yeah.
Yes. So the love languages are Gary Chapman, I believe, created those. And it's actually, if you're wanting to know what your love language is, on our website, healinglifeinstitute.org, we've got the link and it's free. It's actually great. And even to figure that out for your children.
Yes.
If you're listening and you're wanting to think like, well, what would my child want for Valentine's Day? Mm-hmm. So the 5 love languages are either quality time, like you said, yours, mm-hmm. Acts of service. So that's doing something for someone, touch, words of affirmation, or gift giving.
Yes.
And it's just it's a game changer to realize that. Is your husband's different than yours?
It is. His is words of affirmation. So he doesn't like to feel taken for granted. Because, he's a kind soul. So he doesn't want that to be taken for granted. And then he, every now and then needs to know that he's appreciated. So,
yes.
Yeah. So I try to do that.
Yeah. So mine's touch.
Okay.
So I'm a hugger. So my mom used to always say, she's like, Britt, you're so funny. If there's like 100 chairs in a room and they're all empty and there's one person and you don't know them, I'm going to go sit beside, I'm going to like go sit in the chair right beside and be like, hi, can I share this chair with you? And they're going to be like, what? So I've had to learn, like, not everyone's touch. You know?
That's
I just
funny.
I like to hug. I'm a toucher. So,
Okay. Mine could be that too. I like touching. So maybe
yeah.
can you be more than one?
Yeah, you typically, well, of course, all of them are kind of going to speak love to you.
Yeah.
That you should take the quiz because it's really fun. It will show you really what your top two are.
Okay, I'm going to take the quiz.
Mine's touch and then quality time.
Okay.
So I try to be extremely intentional because the interesting thing with the love languages, this isn't this is helping you with relationships, I believe. The interesting thing with the love languages is we tend to give love how we want to receive love. And so if you're not aware of what your partner's love language is, or your child's love language, or even your parents, they can take offense because they're going to be like, well, that's not how I'm receiving it. So mine being quality time, I'm so intentional with anyone who I'm with to not have my phone with me because I want to be present. And I'm not offended when they don't. However, I'm like, and they do appreciate it. But my sisters and my son's love language are both gifts. And that's not mine.
Yeah, that's not mine. That's probably at the bottom of my list is gifts.
Right.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. And so, but they get so excited. So I have to be real mindful to make sure, like, when it's my sister's birthday, she just wants cards. She doesn't care. Like, I can go and cut flowers in my backyard and give them to her. It's not the money.
Yeah.
She just likes the thought, and then she holds it, and then she remembers. And my son's the same way.
Okay.
Yeah. So take the quiz.
I'm going to take the quiz because I read the book years ago. We read the book together, my husband and I, and I mean, I've always said it's quality time, but maybe it's evolved or it's changed, or I have multiple. So I'm going to definitely do that.
Yeah. And I have a really neat story, just how important understanding, since it's Valentine's Day, right?
Yes.
So we're talking about love, showing love to those who we love. So I had a family that I was working with, and it was two girls and their brother. So it was two sisters and a brother, and their father had passed away, and their mother lived about an hour away. And so they had, and the mom just wasn't happy, and they didn't know, they were just struggling, like, well, how can we help her? And so they had like set up, had a yard service coming over to make sure she was okay, and had a housekeeper coming. So they were kind of doing the acts of service, right? And they said, she's just very not appreciative. So there was a lot of frustration. I said, can you just have her take this love language test? And it turned out her love language was quality time.
Okay.
So what they started doing is they scheduled it out that on a Sunday, one would go. So they would alternate. And so and it changed her life. Like, she was so excited because then she just looked forward to, she's like, oh, this Sunday,
so she didn't care. She didn't care
so
about,
happy. She felt loved. And it wasn't that she wasn't appreciating, that they were helping her with the acts of service, but she was just missing that. And that's just a really great way to figure out your relationship.
Yeah.
To add to it.
No, that's important. And so when we know someone's love language, now we can go into showing them the way they want to be shown.
Absolutely.
And so do you think that helps minimize conflict, or that's kind of one of the steps, or what do you think?
Absolutely. So that's really, with therapy, what we really do is we help you understand who you are and your perspective, and then be able to understand someone else's frame of reference and their perspective. So, I am divorced, which has been a great thing because out of my divorce, I learned what not to do.
Yeah.
So then you can learn what to do. So my first husband, I didn't realize this until, after we were divorced, but his love language is acts of service and mine was touch. So he would always get really annoyed that I didn't park my car in the right spot in the garage, because he just liked that. And he would ask me. So here he is pulling in the garage. And, I was kind of like over and, and just, he would come in and I'm wanting a hug and he's already annoyed.
Yeah.
Because he was feeling like, Bridget, I've asked you to do this 1,000 times. And I'm like, oh, it's all good. Like I didn't realize that that would have spoken love to him.
Okay. And the fact that you weren't listening.
Correct.
To his concerns or whatever. Even when we think it's so minimal to us, like, oh my gosh, that's like such a small thing. For somebody else, it's not a small thing. And if it is a small thing, just do it. Like, if it's not going to hurt me, then and it's going to make them happy, then who cares? Just do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's one of the fun things. If the person in your life, like I said, really take the quiz. It's like 5 or 10 minutes and it's free, and that's just really fun. And then you could even do that, if you're listening to this and, you're a mom, it would just be a really fun exercise to do at dinner table, and have everyone kind of say, yeah, like, and this is how I, that does mean love to me. And I do like, more words of affirmation. Or one of my girlfriends, her son's is words of affirmation. So she's real intentional to write like little positive notes in his lunch bag or to put in his book bag.
That's sweet. Yeah, I definitely have to do that with my kids. And one of our shows, Shiny, because we did a show with Shiny, but she brought up the 5 love languages for kids, not just romantic. So it's good that you're repeating that and reiterating that, because we do need to know our kids' love language as well, because, they're important little people in our lives.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and, we emotionally, and I say this all the time, just like physically, we need water and air and a roof over our head to live. Well, emotionally, we are created to love and to be loved. So when you can really learn how you like to receive love, and then really understand the people that are in your life, how they like to receive love, it's just such a game changer.
Yeah.
It just, it makes life happy.
It does.
And it's Valentine's Day, and don't we want to be happy right now?
Well, and that's why I like this topic, because for people that are, in love and, all mushy and gaga over their person, not everyone's in that boat. They might be in a relationship that's not all lovey-dovey, or they're struggling. So this is good that you're doing this to heal relationships.
Absolutely. Because like I said, if so we'll shift into the conflict, right? That, that is the number one relationship killer. And so if you don't know how to even express your needs, like we'll go into what your conflict language can be. Okay. There's 5. And so you can either, when conflict happens, you can either be an avoider.
Okay.
You can be a fighter. You can be a victim, or you can be a rescuer, or you can be a self-champion.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you can imagine which one's the positive one, right?
I would think the self-champion.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then the other 4, are not healthy. If you're showing up when conflict happens, and we can go a little bit,
I think I've been all of those 4, though. Can you kind of transition into one and the other? I've been all of them.
Yes. Well, what I say, it starts spinning. It's like the conflict circle. Because if you're an avoider, and then you're with someone that's an avoider, that typically is that's probably the worst combination, honestly.
I've known people like that, and they say, oh, well, we don't fight. Everything's wonderful. We don't fight. It's like, that's not even normal. You're not even confronting something. So those are the avoiders, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Those are the avoiders. Or I would ask the person that said that, I would say, well, do you have constructive conversations, or do you feel like your needs are being met? Because you can.
The answer is, I'll answer for them. It's no.
Yeah. So they're an avoider.
Yes. I know,
so they're just like,
sure.
oh, it's going to go away. And it just keeps piling.
Yes. Yep. Interesting. Yeah. I used to do that. And then I'm a fighter. And then I'm the victim. And then I'm the rescuer.
Well, right. Yes. And so if you can identify, and it's interesting because in the different relationships you have, you can also be different as well.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning you might be one way with your child and another way with your spouse and another way with your mom. However, we typically have one go-to. And if you grew up in a family of origin that did not model healthy ways to handle conflict, they were not self-champions. They didn't look at conflict as, this is a growth opportunity, guys. Let's problem solve. What do you need? What do I need? And work together.
Mm-hmm.
It just, like I said, you stay stuck in this. It's not a real connection is what I say, because it feels like a real connection because at times it can be good. But then when the conflict hits, it's, the fighter, I always say it's like they put their boxing gloves on.
Yeah.
And so they're the blamer. They get angry.
Mm-hmm.
They react. They get triggered. And if you're if you grew up in a family of origin like that, where someone was the fighter, you might then become the rescuer.
Okay.
So the rescuer to me is also known as, a fixer, a pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
And those are not healthy. So I'm a recovering people pleaser.
Yeah.
Rescuer.
Hello,
fixer.
My name is Brit. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes. Hello. I'm Bridget. I'm a recovering people pleaser. And I think we talked about this on another episode. Because we can take. I believe this as a rescuer. You can take some pride and being like, well, I can fix people's problems.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of identity in that. And when I realized no, that's not healthy. Unless someone's asking for advice, don't
you don't
give
need
it.
to give it. Yeah.
And so the healthy version, do you know what we talked about this before, but do you know what the healthy version of, instead of rescuing or pleasing someone, what do you think would be the healthy version of that?
I mean, is it still the self-champion?
It's a self-champion, right? However, we learn to serve ourselves.
Yeah.
You have to really serve yourself first, take care of who you are, and then step into your relationships and be able to ask for what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone can't meet you at that time, that's okay. And also learn how to serve others and say, can I help? And if they say no, go, okay, well, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. I find with not necessarily romantic relationships, but relationships in general, I've always said, because I feel like I've become a self-champion. I've evolved from all those into a self-champion. And so anytime I feel like I'm exhibiting any of those other ways, because I'm naturally a fighter, when that starts coming out in me, I'm just like, okay, this is not healthy. I need to step away from this person. And it's not me blaming that person per se. It's just, this is not who I want to be as a person. So I either have to step away or just cut it loose. And it's making me look like someone who is just quick just to boom, get out of my life. But I'm just trying to I don't want to be the fighter. I don't. That's an ugly side of me. And I know that when I see it, I'm just like, oh, no. I have to distance myself.
So how did you learn that?
That's a good question. Only God. I give all the credit to him because I wish I had an answer, but it's through him that I've become who I am.
Well, do you remember, was there a time in your life where you were just like, I need to change how I'm doing this? Did you have an aha moment?
In my marriage. Okay. So in my marriage, I came in as a fighter and he came more, he's a self-champion. Was taught that, I guess, at a young age. So me coming in as a fighter and him saying whoa, what is this? This is not how this is going to work. Then that kind of, over time, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's not how I'm going to get my point across. And I can't assume that I have to fight him on everything. I have to give him a chance to show me that it's different than what I'm, used to.
So I so love that you just mentioned that, because that's what I tell a lot of my clients, that they come to me. They're like, well, should we get divorced? Do we need to end this relationship? And I will say to them, identify if you are showing up in conflict. Be really honest with yourself. If you're showing up as that rescuer, the avoider, the fighter, or the victim, and then you'll recognize, is my spouse or is my significant other showing up this way? Well, then you become the self-champion. You change you, because in order for healthy relationships to happen, you need two self-champions.
Yeah.
So
it's been a game changer. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I always say. And it's a learned behavior.
Yes.
It's a muscle. I always say, I'm like, these are muscles that we practice. So for me, like I said, in my family of origin, I was taught to rescue. So when, and I was they say parent pleasers become people pleasers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a lot of guilt, and I struggled a lot with like saying no. And so I had to learn to be able, and I say for me, when I recognized this, I had taken, I took a course with Gary Smalley, and it was talking about that you either live in fear. Well, he called it the fear dance. And so we all get triggered. And so then you start to, like I said, get into this fear dance that just doesn't work. And you start to defend and justify and explain yourself. So I recognize that one of my triggers is a fear of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would then try to be like anxious. And so I would be like, okay, I'm going to help. So I used to have a much more positive view of others than myself.
Yes.
So it was really hard on me. And so I was like, okay, wait, this is a no-go. I need to take care of me and learn, because we teach, have you ever heard this? We teach people how to treat us.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I had to really learn, like, okay, I'm going to learn boundaries. I'm going to no longer live in this fear dance within myself and not reject myself.
Yeah.
And learn how to be like, this is what I need and this is what I don't. And so when I was going through my whole, learning this new language, I would write on my hand, lean back. And I would just walk in and I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to listen. I'm just going to listen.
Lean back.
And it was so awkward. Yeah. However, over time, it's my natural language now.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. I think with anything, it's going to be weird. And you think, oh, I'll never be that person, because it just seems so opposite from what you all are. I've always wanted to be a self-champion. I was never even close to being that person. But I think it helps. I don't know. I don't like to use the word lucky. I'm just really blessed that I found a man who was already that way. So it did make it easier for me to change. I mean, it wasn't easy. I'm not going to lie, but it was easier, because then you look like the stupid one. Like, he's calm, cool, and collected, and I'm playing the victim, and I want to fight, and then I want to avoid, and all these things that, like you said, if you weren't taught those things, you don't know what to do with that. And just always having a wall up, like, I have to protect myself. And these are the ways I'm going to protect myself so that no one hurts me. So, yeah. But it's helped that he's already there, and I had to like meet him. If this is going to work, if this relationship is going to work, I have to do my part.
Absolutely. And do you find this? It's like when I realized that there were different, like when I was showing up in conflict as a rescuer, I didn't realize that you could be the self-champion. So when now I realize that, I can spot, and I'm like, oh, wow, that person just went into the conflict circle. And this is just, so you have to really teach yourself to just listen.
Yes.
Because you're not going, they can't hear you. When someone's in the conflict circle, it's just wasted energy. Yeah. You've got to just be like, time out.
Well, I'm realizing that I say I'm a self-champion, but I'm not like all the way there, because I still get sucked in a little bit. Like, I know they're there, but I'm going to get sucked in with you. So that's where I'm still not 100% there, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And so that's why, like I said, I have all of these. So, like, I love all the tools that I have because I use them in my own life and they really work. It's, we're talking about, we've talked about this is how do you cope with difficult feelings in really healthy ways?
Mm-hmm.
We're taught from childhood to brush our teeth and floss, twice a day. However, we're not taught often really how to manage our emotions, and what we think becomes our life.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you really can learn how to, manage your thoughts and really learn how to be that self champion, it's such a game changer.
So, question. So, we're talking about, we're realizing this, but a lot of times in relationships, no one's a self champion. You're either a victim. I mean, you're one or the other. And like no one's there to change anything. So it is like a vicious circle or cycle. I know in our last conversation, it's all about controlling who you are. Are you saying the same thing? Just keep controlling who you are. That is hard though, Brit. She's nodding her head. That's hard to do when you don't have the other person. You know what it is? I'm speaking for the people. I don't know if this is true or not, but it's like, well, why do I have to fix how I, think and do? And they get a pass and they keep acting like a-holes.
Right. So, yes. So to answer that, it is hard. And though it's just so healthy. It's so freeing when you learn to do it. And I agree 100% with you. You answered, I said, how did you do it? It's faith.
Mm-hmm.
Faith is going to be that game changer because because if we're created to be in relationship, God created us to be in relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a constant moment to moment relationship. So if we really trust, God's promises, that he's not going to abandon us, that he loves us, that he's always there for us, that we can turn there when, our significant other or even our children, our parent or someone is just acting in the conflict circle and they're being whatever they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
When you can teach yourself to say, you know what, I'm going to go spend some time with God. I'm going to deal with my difficult feelings. I'm going to talk to God about feeling rejected or having my insecurities and get grounded in who I am and my identity with my relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
That then allows you to step into any relationship and have kindness and understanding. Because what is love?
I think for me, love is, showing up for the people that matter to you, compromising, there's so many things, not being selfish. There's so many things that come with that word. What's your definition?
What's my definition? So for me, love is so many things, right? And so C.S. Lewis speaks about that there's 4 different types of love.
Okay.
And so you have filio, which is brotherly love. So think of the city of Philadelphia. And that's actually the easiest kind of love because we as individuals, we want to know that I matter, that I'm unique, that my voice matters and my needs matter, right?
Yeah.
So when I have my friends, we get to go and pick our friends.
Mm-hmm.
And our friends are also okay if I'm like, okay, well, it's Thanksgiving and I'm not going to come to Thanksgiving because I'm going to go, feed the homeless or something. They're going to be understanding. Like, that's great, Brit. They're not going to personalize go, how could you not come to my Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
If you have a parent that's important to them, you can start to get some friction in there,
mm-hmm,
right? The
mm-hmm.
conflict can start, which goes to the next type of love is storge, which just means family.
Okay.
So that's that next level of love. And then you have eros. So that's erotic love, like
mm-hmm.
love with your lover, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's really the one that really starts to, we as adults can cause the most friction because it really is compromise.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, then the 4th type of love is called agape love.
Yes.
And agape love is God's love and it's unconditional love. And so I have a program that I'm coming out with. It's called Love Heals.
Okay.
And I spell love, L-U-V, for a purpose, because I want people to start realizing that God's love is really far different than human love. You know, this is just my belief is, God is perfect love. God created us to be in relationship with him. God created, and so when I turn to God, God's love is perfect. It's always present. It's always there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that makes it a mess.
Yeah.
And so that's why I do LUV. So I'm like, I'm going to put myself, you in the middle of God's love, and just nourish yourself there. Go spend time in nature, like trust that God says who he is. And God says he's, that perfect love. So when you can get grounded in that relationship, that's really how you can be a self-champion.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to know, this is who I am. I have a personal walking relationship with God. I know who God is. And so that's that security for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me, I love, 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8, which is love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking.
Yeah.
It's not easily angered. It keeps no recordings of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. And Brandon Heath, do you know who Brandon Heath is?
No.
Oh my gosh, I love Brandon Heath. So he is a Christian singer. He's one of my go-to favorites. And he's got,
sometimes I don't know the people, but I know there's the songs. What's some of the songs that he sings? Do you know?
He sings Give Me Your Eyes for Just 1 Minute.
Yeah, I do know that song.
I'm Not Who I Was.
Yes.
Yeah, but he's got,
okay, I know these songs. Okay.
Yeah. But he's got he's got a song that's based on that Bible verse that I just gave, and it's love never fails. Love is the river that flows through. Love is all. It's a beautiful song. So if you guys so if you are alone this, this Valentine's Day, spend time with God, because God's there for you.
Yeah.
Have a loving relationship with him.
Yeah.
And trust. And if you want, a relationship, ask him, tell him, and then trust that he, will bring a person in for you.
So when you're trying to be a self-champion in a relationship and you're doing all the work, but the other person may think that there's nothing wrong with them, that maybe they feel that they're already a self-champion, like people just think that they are something that they're not. What do you, how do you talk as a therapist? How do you talk through that with someone who's already a self-champion or is on their way there, but still with a person that's not quite as grasping that there's an issue?
Yeah. So two people have to want to be in a relationship.
Okay.
So if you're wanting a relationship and someone isn't, you can't personalize that. Mm-hmm. That can be hard.
Yeah.
So if you're with someone that maybe you got to know them and you just have different values, and you want a monogamous relationship and they don't,
yeah,
and that's your eject button. Like, you have to have eject buttons. You have to say, like, this isn't okay with me. And if you're not willing to change this behavior, then I need to walk away. And that can be really hard.
Yeah.
And so it goes back to the compromise. So I think you were asking two different things. So let me see if I answered it. One way that I heard you asking is, what I heard you ask, and tell me if I answered this correctly, is, what do I do in a relationship if I'm doing the changing and this person isn't? Correct. And they're in denial and they're going like, I don't avoid. And you're sitting there like, yes, you do avoid.
Yeah.
But you don't want to, but then you're feeling like you're being the persecutor,
exactly,
the fighter,
yes,
by saying, yes, you put on your running shoes and you take off, and I'm stuck here like figuring this out on my own. And I want to be in a relationship where we're doing this together. Help me. And then they tell you, well, you're needy.
Yes.
That.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So how you handle that is one, I would say to take this course, the 30-day boot camp, because what it's going to teach you to do is how to have boundaries. And you need to change you and not go into the conflict circle. And I've got real specific tools. And then at the end of the 30 days, at the end of the course, so you can download this and you can complete this course in an hour. And I'm telling you, it's so good. And then at the end, you make a commitment to yourself. It's a 30-day agreement. And what you're going to do in those 30 days, and this is going to give you clarity if this person can change or not, because we don't want to be a parent.
Exactly.
I'm like, they already have a mom,
yes,
right?
Yep.
Especially with women, like, guys, if they don't want to do this, then you're going to be able to figure out, does this person want a relationship with me or not? Mm-hmm. Do they value me? And so what you end up doing in the 30-day agreement is number one, you agree, I'm going to have a kind mind towards myself. Because if someone's rejecting you, if you've shared yourself with someone and then they're just like, I don't want to be in a relationship, or I'm not going to change, and you're the one with the issues, then that hurts, right?
It does. Yeah.
It really hurts. And so you have to create these boundaries and be really intentional of having self-compassion towards yourself, being mindful of how you're spending your time and being really healthy. And so you just have to have a kind mind towards yourself. You need to understand that you're responsible for your life. So if you're living in that conflict circle and you're feeling like this person needs to change for me to be okay, it's a no-go.
Yeah.
You don't need anyone, guys. And you can sit there and say, I had a hard family of origin, I was divorced, okay, that's been your story. Now we're going to rewrite your story.
Yeah.
We're going to change our perspective. We're going to make you the author of your life and start to make decisions that best serve you. Mm-hmm. And really, I call it adulting, which isn't always fun. I'm like, I don't want an adult.
Not at all. It's not fun at all sometimes.
Right. And so then in that 30-day agreement, then you realize, so have you had a relationship that's ended? Have you been in
Yeah. I mean, like a romantic relationship? Yeah. I mean, I didn't date a lot. I got married at 25, but I did have a baby at 21. So that relationship was the only one that I can ever, go back to that was not healthy. It was not a healthy relationship. And then before that, it was just like puppy love. So
do you see in that relationship that y'all were probably in the conflict circle?
100%, all the time. Yeah. Like, it was more crappy days than good days. Oh yeah, it was horrible.
Right. And so we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
It's just part of the growing process.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say we all have. I think most people have, unless, like I said, unless this was modeled for you from your parents, then you probably have. I've been there, and I know and so that's the other thing in this 30-day agreement. So you have to accept, I have allowed others to cross emotional boundaries, and step into, my reality that I have to change. Mm-hmm. And that's just so empowering.
Yes.
Because these tools do work. And then you're like, okay, well, now I know what to do. Instead of shaming and blaming myself and getting stuck as the victim, then I'm going to say, okay, well, I'm going to learn healthy boundaries.
Exactly.
And so, and then I always say, I'm not going to talk about my problems for the 30 days. I don't want people talking about their problems unless you work with a life coach or a therapist or talk to God or journal, because it's just not going to serve you. You've got to get clarity with it. Start to hear your own voice. Start to say, okay, God, what am I doing? We always want to go to the girlfriend or and then sometimes they like to be in the conflict with you. And then you just go down that and you don't know. And so, and then, to turn to God. So I've got a foundational prayer there that's really good. That's, God, I come to you with the desire to change. Open my eyes to see your truth and love in my life. Open my ears to hear it. So you can actually really start to feel his presence and spending time with him. And then not to blame anyone, because how much fun I love to blame.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Yeah.
I've done a
So
lot of blaming in my days.
Right. So you know who, when we talk about Brene Brown,
Yes.
you know, so I don't know if your listeners know who Brene Brown is. If
Mm-hmm.
not, learn who she is.
Yeah.
She is amazing. I love her. So she has this really fun, so she talks about vulnerability. Like, she's very famous for talking about vulnerability and really taking ownership of your life. And
Mm-hmm.
she has this one cartoon that's about blaming. It's so funny. It's like so Google it if you're there. Have you seen it?
I haven't. No.
Her one on blaming.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, well, she says she's a recovering blamer,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so she's sitting there, and in the cartoon, she's having coffee, and she's like, and she spills the coffee all over herself because her husband Steve is late coming home. And
Mm-hmm.
if he'd been home on time, she wouldn't have spilled her coffee. So he calls.
Wow.
She starts to tell him, like, yes, I've spilled my coffee. I'm up because you aren't doing what you said you were.
Oh, wow.
He said, he like hangs up, and his name's Steve. He's like, gotta go. And she's like, oh. So people in my life for a while, when I was a blamer, they would be like, where's Steve? Okay, I didn't date a Steve.
That
they were
is
doing the Brene
funny.
Brown.
That's
like,
funny.
Okay, I gotta stop doing that.
That's so funny. I read, I mean, I love to read different quotes and stuff. And there's some that say, you can blame people to a point. After that, you have to start doing the work, and you have to start changing who you are. I'm paraphrasing. I'm sure the quote is beautiful, but I'm like, that is so true. Like, yes, these things happened. And yes, this is how you see, because people are trying to tell me that the way I grew up wasn't the way I grew up, but I'm like, it's my point of view, and it's from my eyes and what I, experienced. So you cannot take that away from me. But I'm starting to just stop that. Like, it is what it is. It was what it was. Let it go. Stop the blame game and just focus on who you are today. And if those people have changed, then I welcome them back into my home and into my world. But if you're still the same person, I've evolved. I've changed. 100% I've changed in the last 8, 9, 10 years. So, and I'm not going to apologize for that either. So I'm just like at a different, that self-champion word. I love that. And I didn't know what it was until you introduced it. And I'm all about it because it is freeing.
Well, it's so freeing, and it's how, we get entangled. And I think culturally we have so many just noise, like we're supposed to do this,
Yes.
and we've talked about this. It's that group thinking. And I think, and it's just like, you know what, at the end of the day, be you.
Yes.
Be you and like you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's freeing. I've got on our website, we've got a Spotify, No Fear This Year playlist. And it's all like, I'm going to be stronger. Like, so if you are, there's no shame or blame. If you're like, okay, I am a rescuer, I've learned this, there's no shame or blame. It's like, you can change. You always have the power to change.
Yeah.
And you have to really ask yourself, why am I showing up as a rescuer? Who am I when I show up as a rescuer? And what would it even look like what would I gain by not?
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the game changers for me that came out of my divorce, it was a silver lining for me, because I realized, oh, wow, I have an 8-year-old, and I've been showing up as a rescuer and then the victim, and I could be so passive aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
This is what the rescuer did. So we were talking about, like, how can you show up in all of those roles?
Mm-hmm.
So I was always taking care of everyone else, right?
Yeah.
Until then, when I would ask for something, if it wasn't met exactly when I needed it done, then I would just go, okay, well, I'm just going to do it myself.
Mm-hmm. I've been there too.
And it showed up, so I didn't change overnight. I mean, I had to.
Oh, for sure. My go-to saying was like, I just do everything around here. I have to do everything.
Yes.
It's like, no, it's just, I'm not doing it right this second just because you said. that it needed to be done. I'm like, okay, you're right.
Well, and right. The time that I realized that I was this passive, I was like, I did not see me being passive aggressive. And so my son, who's 22 now, he was 16 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a Sunday morning and I was working in my office and my battery had gone dead. And he was in his bedroom, his little office doing his homework.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I don't know, it was like 10 o'clock. And I hollered, I was like, Davis, can you go up to Target for me right now and get me a battery? I need one. And he was like, he hollers back and he said, Mom, can I do it in like 30 minutes? I'm finishing up a project for school. So he was doing something legitimate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And no, and I was like, no, that's fine. I'll just do it. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I said it mean. I didn't say it like, oh, that's good. It was like, no.
Fine, I'll do
right.
it.
And so I'm in the shower and this is my narrative. I do everything for everyone. All I did was ask for him. And I can't even believe this. And then I was like, I was like, Bridget, you are being, this is so not good. And at that moment, he knocks on the door and says, Mom, I'm going up to the store.
Aww.
And I was like, hold on. And I went out and I said, hold on. I said, I need to apologize to you. I was like, I have shown up.
Yeah.
I have been modeling to you this conflict circle.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you're doing what you need to do. This was past. And I did, and this was healthy because he said, well, Mom, would you mind? I would like to go finish my homework. However, can I then go to Target and I'll get us lunch? And I said, I would, thank you. I would love that.
Yeah.
And it's because I started to learn to let people help too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, can we work together and try to both be self-champions? Because, we need to model this together and do this. So that's the fun thing. If you go through this, even if you're a single parent right now, you can get a lot out of this course because it's going to teach you how to handle relationships.
So it's interesting how I started the show off talking about romantic relationships, but now that we're talking about it, it really isn't just about romantic relationships.
Yeah. Well, it's all relationships because it's how we handle conflict. And the truth is this, Lena, it's how you handle conflict within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When you learn how to love yourself, then that's going to change how you view life and understand people because you're going to start to have so much more compassion and understanding and understanding, like if you're in a relationship right now and you love this person and they're dealing with something and they're avoiding and they're not wanting to open up, take these 30 days to just pray about it and get clarity and ask God to show you because he will.
Yeah. That is very true.
Yeah. And so the other things that I have you do in that 30-day agreement with yourself is you've got to eliminate the things that harm you. And then you're going to add things that help you.
Okay.
Because we have those coping mechanisms, right?
Mm-hmm.
That are unhealthy, that we think they're serving us, but they're not. It might be, do you know what I mean when I say unhealthy coping mechanisms?
Yeah. I mean, I think if people are doing things, if you're excessively drinking, I would think that's something that would need to go somewhere. Or if you're popping pills, everyone has their thing that they do to make themselves feel better.
Right. And so, and I love that you touch on the alcohol. It is a depressant. Mm-hmm. And so if you find, and it's interesting because we can start to feel lonely or sad, and then we think that that's going to cope, and it really harms you. Mm-hmm. And so there again, it's and I'm so big on this, is you just have to say, well, why am I? So if you're struggling right now in a relationship and you're noticing that you're drinking more than you should, just ask yourself, like, why am I drinking? And who am I when I drink? And who would I be when I don't? And those just really help you kind of make that decision. And maybe you want to be a better role model for your, for your children.
Yeah.
And model that. And then that's the fun thing, is adding the fun things. You always have to replace it.
So you're taking away something. Yeah.
Yes. And so, and wine at times had been a coping mechanism a little bit for me. And so what I would do is I would get a wine glass and I would pour like that. It's called bow water, I think.
Okay.
It's like BUA, bow water.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's the commercial. BAI. Is it buy?
Bye.
Yeah.
I think, yes, bye. I'm weird.
The only reason is because Justin Timberlake is on the commercial and it's like, bye, bye, bye. That's the only reason I know. I would call it Bay too. But yes,
that's
buy water.
Funny.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to help me remember that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they have this coconut water one.
Yes.
So good.
That is a good one. I love all those.
So I put that in a wine glass, and then I'll even get like coconut shavings, and I put it in there, and then I'm like,
it's like a tropical drink. It's a tropical drink.
And there's only like 5 calories in it, so it's really healthy for you. And so I'm replacing it. I'm adding that. So instead of having the wine, and then I'll say at the end of the night when I go to bed or when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. Because then I wake up and I do my yoga, or I do my Bible study, or I go on that walk. And so it's just learning those healthy habits to really value and take care of you and allow this other person in your life. If, like I said, if you're struggling, if you're married, or even if you ended a relationship and you're like, do I want to go back? Learning to manage an adult and get yourself healthy regardless of this person, that's then just when you're going to be, because you're going to become a self-champ.
Yeah. And all parts of your life, not just with him, but just with anybody. It's,
Absolutely.
And so with this course, though, it sounds like it's an individual thing. Ideally, it would be best if both people took it, correct?
Absolutely. Yes, because it's really both of you taking accountability and you learning how to change. So it would be ideal. And I think it's only like $97, which is just great. So, and you can, like I said, you can access it. You can get it right now. However, yes, if both are doing it, because there's one great tool that I give in it. It's the SNAP. So the SNAP is, I've talked about this, I'm helping you manage your thoughts. We can choose our thoughts. And so the SNAP is when you're in a relationship right now. Okay. So that first thought, that first reaction, you're going to feel lonely. So you're going to want to what? Text.
Yes.
And no, we do not text, guys, during this because we're changing us, right?
Yes.
We're going to learn how to take care of us. So what you do is, and especially if you've had some wine, then you really want to text.
Oh, yes.
Or maybe you want to go and like look at their social media. Like, it doesn't serve you. It does not serve you. You're just, it's just negative energy, right? So what the SNAP is if you get a rubber band and you're going to actually snap it. When you want to do this, you're going to, and so what the SNAP is you stop. And then the N is notice. Are you in the conflict circle? Like, am I about to
do something crazy?
Text and be like, hey, you haven't called me. I can't believe you haven't called me. Okay, no snap.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Just
stop.
Pause and breathe.
Yeah.
Right. And then ask yourself. So it's SNAP. So S is stop. And then the N is notice. Are you in the conflict circle? And then ask yourself, how can I be a self-champion? What can I do? What choices right now will best serve me? And if you think I have to go and look at Facebook, like let's just say that, I just have to go and see what this person's doing. Okay, then give yourself a timer. Have Alexa and say, Alexa, 30 seconds. Go off in 30 seconds and then go on Facebook. And then when she starts going off, then go off.
Yeah.
And ask yourself like, okay, did that serve me? And maybe it did, maybe it didn't, because I don't want people to be punished. It's not like I don't want you to punish yourself. However, you're going to start to realize that you've got a choice.
Yeah.
And then the P is pause, pray, and prune. So it's really learning to prune all of that worry and anxiety and negativity that you're having and find the joy in the moment. Your identity is not in a relationship. Your identity is loving who you are and grounding yourself in your purpose. Your life matters.
Yes.
And that's fullness. That's the self-champ.
Yes, preach it. No, it's so true. But I find also, I was going to ask you, because I love that. It's like it's all about us as people, like me individually. But when people see that change in you, it kind of, not everybody, but some people that knew how you were before, it's like, oh, well, they're changing. And now they're this. And now she thinks she's full of herself. And now she just thinks she's above everybody. What do we say to those people, Britt? Because I'm trying to be nice, but sometimes, like I said, the fighter comes out and I'm just like, what do you say? Because I'm sure you've gotten it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, so lesson 6 in the course, it talks about the joy of living an authentic life.
Okay.
And so you have to ask yourself, who are the people in your life that no longer serve you? And that can be a hard question. And so what I do as a self-champ is I realize, time is so valuable, right?
Yes.
And the people in my life that I trust that are emotionally healthy. So when because I do have some people that I care about that have been in my life, and they tend to live in that avoider, and they, I'm like, and they will not take accountability, and they're still like, and so for me with those people, for me, how I visualize it is I just understand that there's a part of them that's still hurting.
Okay.
I don't judge it. I love Brene Brown says, I'm going to give her quote. It's about connection, because that's what we're talking about. Because if someone lives in the conflict circle, you cannot have a real emotional, caring connection. At times they can appear to be loving and kind, and then out of nowhere, you're going to trigger them.
Yes.
And then, and then all of a sudden,
that is the word trigger. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. You trigger it, and then you've got to snap, and you've got to you have to just have real awareness that this is not my issue.
Okay.
However, I don't want to make it worse. And so what I do is I have that understanding, have strong boundaries. So if I choose to go and spend time with them, I know it's not if they're going to go into the conflict circle, it's when.
Okay.
So I'm just like, well, that's interesting. So I step in that space as the emotionally healthy person. An emotionally healthy person does not judge. They have care and compassion. So you just listen. I don't share a lot of my information, and I just respect their boundaries. And I just say, well, that's an interesting perspective. That's my go-to with anyone.
Even if it's about you, like it's directed towards you and you as a person and how you change and how you.
Give me an example. Yeah. So give me so to answer your question, if there's someone in your life right now, okay, that you care about, and you go through this course and you're like, oh, okay, Britt, 30 days, I'm a self-champion. I'm now seeing this conflict circle, and I'm seeing this, like my mom lives in the conflict circle, right? I'm not saying my mom. I'm just saying a mom. Like, okay, I'm identifying my mom or my childhood best friend or that next door neighbor.
Yeah.
That always is asking me to go out to, dinner, and I go out to dinner, and then I end up getting in the conflict circle, and she's gossiping about all these people. And so what do I do? That's what you're asking me, right?
Yeah, because, okay, for example, for me personally, it's more of I have changed, I have evolved, and it shows. So I guess I come across as, because I'm stronger, like I am. I mean, I don't even want to apologize for it. So they see that. And it's more of they think that I am above everyone because I have evolved and because I am stronger and because I don't give into the drama. So I think that's a trigger because I don't give into the drama. So who do you think you are? Better than us? I don't know.
Well, I want you to know, okay? So I'm very big on this. If you ever say, I don't know does not serve you.
Okay.
To try to get clarity. So what I hear you saying is you're somewhat personal. You're unsure how to interact when someone is saying this to you.
in a nice way. Because I know how to interact in my way, which is not always the best way, because my way is to just tell you to go somewhere. So I'm trying to learn different ways to communicate that's not, big and bad like I like to do. And the other thing is I'm quick to just be like, I'm done. I'm done. I don't even want to deal with it.
Okay. So every person we meet is a teacher.
Okay.
Every person we meet is a teacher. So if there is someone in your life right now that continues to trigger you and that they live in the conflict circle, they are teaching you, one, how to exercise this muscle that we keep talking about of self-compassion, boundaries, and valuing yourself and not personalizing what other people are doing and still being able to be present and you be emotionally connected with yourself. And I say this, and someone said this to me during my healing and learning this, wherever I go, there I am. I think Dr. Seuss said that. I'm not sure, but think about that. Like wherever I go, there I am. I was like, what does that mean? And I now know what that means.
You're there.
What does that mean to you? Wherever I go, there I am.
I can only control myself because I'm the person that's always going to be in that situation. Like I'm always going to be there. So.
Correct. Yeah. So regardless of who I'm interacting with, I want to be true to me. I want to be authentic to me. And an authentic Bridget is someone that knows I've got difficult feelings. I have insecurities. I have weaknesses. So I know how I have my toolkit that I know how to cope with them. So when I get in a situation where I start to feel overwhelmed, I know that muscle to take care of me. And I go there. And I've also identified in my life people that I can rely on and depend upon, because that's key. I can't do life alone.
Yeah.
And we're real. Like we trust each other. We've got each other's back and we care. And then when I engage with someone that I'm not sure that they're living in the conflict circle. So I'm going to go back to the Brene Brown definition, and I hope I get this right. She says a real emotional connection is when you feel seen, heard, and understood, and there's no judgment. And so when I realize I am a flawed person, I have my insecurities. That's why I have a relationship. For me, I have a relationship with Christ. Mine is very Christ-centered for me. So I know that I need my relationship with Christ every moment. That grounds me. So I can step out with grace. And if someone's hurting and they're going, how could you do this? I'm like, I remember when I've been that person. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, thank God I'm 50 and I know this now. How I wish I'd known that like this at 30. Yeah. And they might be older than me and still doing that. And so I know this. And when they do it, I don't personalize it. And so my go-to is always this. When someone in my space goes to either avoiding, that's the one I have the hardest time with. I'll be honest with you, because it's someone that I care about and they're just like, I'm good. I got to go. And I'm always like, hey, are they really good? 'Cause I just like to know that people are okay that I care about. Exactly. However, if someone's not asking for advice, don't give it. Okay. And just respect their boundary and give them their space, and understand that frame of reference. So if someone's avoiding me that I care about, or if someone's shaming me or blaming me or judging me, I always say this: that's an interesting perspective. You can say it to yourself, or you can say it to the person. And why do you think that's such a game changer?
I would say that to myself, as it is interesting because it's a different perspective, and I can look at it and see, well, where can I change in that? In his perspective or her perspective or whoever's, like, how can I change if there is something to change?
Correct. And it neutralizes it. What it does is it allows you to be able to see and hear that person without judgment. Now, if you start to judge it, then that's just a no-go. Like, don't go, well,
You're
that's
kind
not
of
true perspective.
Yeah.
Because, maybe someone has a different, perspective. They have a different value system.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if someone has a different value system, that's okay. I have to ask myself, do I align with this value system? And is this someone that I want to trust? And if not, it's okay. I can still be in their same physical space and not personalize it.
Okay.
So if we go through, if you want to, we can role play a scenario that you've gone through, and I'll help you. Would that help?
They're going to be listening to this. They all listen to this, Brit.
Okay, if they're listening, you're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, Brit gave me the heal from narcissism, the heal your relationship course."
Yeah,
and I'm realizing that at times in our relationship, unknowingly, I've been showing up as. So, how do you think that you at times will show up as? Do you ever show up in the conflict circle with this person? They might invite you.
It's actually multiple.
That's where I get so upset. I'm like, why did I just accept the invitation? I didn't want to go to this party.
It is multiple people, but the one that I'm telling you is one specific instance. But I do have multiple people that try to drag me into their conflict circle, which I don't understand.
Well, why? Yeah, real quick. Why someone invites you into their conflict circle is they're projecting. They haven't learned how to emotionally handle their own inner conflict. So they will project it to you. Yeah. It's a projection.
I get that. I get a lot what you're saying. I think the way I come across is hard on the outside. So they assume that maybe I don't understand where they're coming from. Even though I do, I'm just not going to put up with the BS, if that makes sense. So it appears that I don't understand, but I truly do understand. I think that's what triggers people, that I don't understand their points of view. I do understand, but you still don't get a pass, if that makes sense.
Okay. So, and we're dealing with trust also, because do you trust this? Do you trust these people?
Not 100%.
Emotionally.
Yeah,
right.
not 100%.
Sometimes
no
they'll
way.
bring up something that hurts you.
Oh yeah, 100%. Not at all. No.
Yeah. So that's kind of what you're having to rebuild trust without addressing anything.
Yeah. And I want to address.
That's why you're stuck in the conflict circle.
Yeah.
So, but
I am okay to address it because I've changed, but these people haven't changed, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So let me ask you a hard question, because this is a question that I had to ask myself. Is I can be extremely intuitive, and I believe that I understand someone's perspective, and it's off. It's wrong. So are you saying, when you're engaging with someone that you're feeling triggered, do you say, well, what I hear you saying is this, is that correct? I
did do that with this past conversation. Yes.
How did that?
The other conversations, I don't care. I don't really care to resolve it, to be honest. But with this one, I do care a lot. It helped, actually. That helped.
High four.
Yeah.
Remember my high four?
Yes.
My high four is what we do when we are self-champion. We give each other high fours.
Yes.
It's like, I changed my behavior and it changed the relationship.
I acknowledged what was being said, for sure. Yeah. And I try not to take that away from that person.
Yeah. And so another thing that I would do is just say, you know what, to this person it sounds like that you care about, is just say, hey, I'm realizing for our relationship, because relationships, guys, are one-on-one. Families often will say it's everyone. No, it's one-on-one. That's called enmeshment.
That is so, I'm so glad you say that, because in my family, it is like all hands on deck. And it's like, no. My relationship is different with you than it is with you,
But
they try to bring it together as one. And I'm glad you said that.
And it's like a grandparent has a relationship with the grandchild.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't go through the parent.
Exactly. Yes.
So
yes.
if you can't have a like healthy, so figure out how to have one-on-one relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would go to that person and say, I want to ask you. So what I always do is I work solution backwards.
Okay.
So when I sit down with the person, so I'm teaching you conflict resolution. This is healthy conflict resolution.
Mm-hmm.
So I would sit down with this person and I would probably either text or email or say, I want to set aside 30 minutes or an hour. Could you let me know a time that's good?
Okay.
And then when you actually sit down with this person, I would say, first off, I want to thank you for sitting down with me. And the reason I want to work solution backwards, and what I want you to hear me say, you matter to me. Mm-hmm. This relationship matters to me. And so then I would say, what did you just hear me say? Because if they're hurting and they're feeling like, they might say, oh, great. Now you're going to tell me what I did that was wrong. And you're going to be like, okay, I need to say this again. Yep. Because this is just really important. And I would actually say I can understand where you probably feel that way, because that's what I'm going to be addressing is really how we handle conflict. Mm-hmm. And I'm realizing I haven't been handling this how I would have wanted to be showing up. And so these are the roles that I'm seeing. And can you see where I do that? Mm-hmm. And they will and I will tell you, so if someone's not emotionally healthy, mm-hmm. this will not work. Okay. However, you will get really clear. However, if they are emotionally healthy, it will work. And so I have someone in my life that I did this with. Mm-hmm. This is actually very funny. Well, it wasn't funny. It was just eye-opening. And I did this exact same thing. And I said, so I've been showing up as the rescuer, I'm like, do you see where you've been showing up and this person, he was like, yes, you have. You are like the rescuer. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, and I'm sorry for that. Mm-hmm. He's like, well, and you should be. And I'm like, okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, do you see where I'm fine, Bridget. I'm not one of your clients. Yeah. And I was like, okay. Yeah. This is just a no-go. Like,
well, exactly. So your conversation is similar to mine.
And so then with that, go back to this. Wherever you go, there you are. So this particular person, he has to be in my life because of a connection with someone else. Mm-hmm. And so when something happens, I'm very kind. I'm very respectful. And I will ask, would you mind if I share a perspective? Like something just happened and I had to give him this information. It was important that they know. Mm-hmm. And I gave it to them. And then I said, can I share a perspective? And they said no. And I said, okay. And then I said, have a nice day. And I didn't personalize it because I understand for some reason, our connection, it's just not a safe space for him. Okay. And I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. Okay. Took a long time to be okay with that because it's like, you'll second guess yourself and doubt yourself, except mm-hmm. if someone's not willing to turn towards you. Because guys, with conflict, Lena, we're either mm-hmm. turning away from each other or we're turning towards each other. Yeah. And so if someone wants to, put on the boxing gloves or put on the running shoes, it's not going to be healthy.
Yeah. It's just hard. It's just hard when both people aren't. They may want it, but they're not trying. Because you can say, oh, yeah, no, I want to make it work. Or I want to, in just whatever relationships. I'm not even talking about the one that we were just talking about, just with anything. But when that person really doesn't truly show up, that's when it's frustrating, I'm sure, for the other person. Just in talking with my friends and, the struggles that they're going through with their relationships. And the person acts like they want to show up, but then they don't show up. And so it's like the cycle of words versus actions.
Right. Well, and the other thing that I've learned, and it's like really getting to know yourself and getting to know that other person, because maybe you have more of a desire to be like a strong, emotionally healthy person, and maybe this person doesn't mm-hmm. have that. And that's okay. Yeah. Like we all have our own what we want. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that I've had to learn, because for me, my personality type, we'll have to do another show on this. It's the Myers-Briggs personality type. Mm-hmm. And I'm an intuitive feeler. I'm highly idealistic. my personality type only makes up about like 3% of the population. And I have to realize that like people don't want to be sitting always talking about all of this. And so I have people in my life that aren't intuitive feelers, and I enjoy them, you know, because they've got a lot of strengths that are fun. And my son's not. He's a sentinel. And so he can be so present and fun that I love being with him. You know, we'll watch Family Feud, you know, like we go, and he gets me in that, you know, I'm not thinking all the time. And so just allowing people to be them, that's what, and so that would be my other suggestion, is start to think about this other person. You know, realize
it's interesting because I feel like I'm all about people being who they are, because that's what I'm preaching. Like, this is who I am. And so of course I want others to be that way. Like, I can't change feelings. Like, I need actual concrete evidence of this is what I've done and this is what I've said. And this is that we can work with. But when it's just like, you've changed, like, yeah, I have. So what do you want me to do with that? Yeah.
Well, and however, though, do you ask them this, what do you believe me changing means? Is that a positive or a negative?
I think going back to what you said, when you're not emotionally healthy, you're not going to grasp.
Well, and I go back to, you remember I asked you, what does it mean to them that you've changed? Is it positive or negative? And you said, I don't know. So that I don't know is not going to serve you. So that's keeping you.
So it's just me coming up with my own story.
Right. So you might be getting in the way of the relationship.
The reason I say I don't know, because things were said that shows that it is negative. But I think maybe it came from a place of hurt, that maybe that's not the truth. But it was like, I think I'm better than everybody else because I have grown. That's what was said to me.
Did this person say that to your face, or did that come through?
No, it was on the phone. No. It was them directly to me on the phone, not face to face.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, and so what
that I think I'm a guru or something like that, to that effect.
Well, you could say thank you. I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said. I'm like, I mean, I don't think so, but yeah. I mean,
well, I would have said, what I hear you saying is that you think that the changes that I've implemented in my life aren't healthy. Is that correct? And would they have said yes?
They would have said no. They probably would have said no. Because when you ask the questions, it's like you get them in a spot, but then they bring it back to the negative. Does that make sense? Like, they acknowledge it.
Yes.
But then they bring it back to the conflict part. So they kind of bypass that. And then it's like, I don't want to answer that because that is logical and that makes sense and you're making sense.
Yes.
So let's get back to how crappy you are.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So anyways. I was just, it's okay. It's just, it's funny that we're talking about this. I was not expecting to talk about that at all. But when we were talking about the conflict and stuff, it's like, okay, this makes total sense now. Like, it makes sense. And I don't have to, I personalize it because I do want to be there for others. But you're right. I can't personalize every little thing that happens with every person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
with the boot camp, the end goal is what for the end of 30 days? What are people supposed to expect?
Yeah. So at the end of the 30 days, you're going to just get really clear as to valuing yourself, and then knowing, is this relationship, if it's, let's talk about a romantic relationship, that it's maybe a spouse, and maybe you guys are you keep having the same fight over and over again. At the end of the 30 days, my hope is that you would be able to say to your spouse, hey, would you be willing to take this course? Would you be willing to change? Or if it's even a parent or something, and say, let's do this together.
Yeah.
And if they say no, then that's going to give you a clear direction to say, okay, well, maybe I need to step away, or get some clarity as to, do you want to stay in this relationship or not? And you might want to. And it's going to maybe give you some time to realize, you know what, I've got some dreams and I've got some things that I can take care of. And maybe there are areas in my life that I need to take care of.
Mm-hmm.
And I maybe need some boundaries. So maybe you give yourself another 30 days.
Yeah.
Because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be valuing yourself. And that in essence is going to then value others.
So this is going to be life-changing, whether the relationship remains or whether you let it go. Either way, it's going to change you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Yeah. Because when you start looking at things differently, then, and sometimes it's not what you wanted, but it's what's best for you.
Yes. So,
but no, did you want to say anything else about the course before we say bye-bye to everyone?
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. So download the course if it's Valentine's Day. Give yourself the gift of having just a great relationship. The 30 days, it will change your life. And it's so, like I said, you can complete it in under an hour, and then you get the 30 days. You can keep going back and just revisiting it. Or if you just need clarity, reach out. One of our life coaches or therapists can come alongside you and just really help you because, life is about relationships. And I think that's something that we're realizing with COVID right now is just really being intentional to take care of yourself and then those that you love. Just important. Like I said, it's just a game changer.
Well, thank you so much, Brit. And the website is healinglifeinstitute.org.
Yes.
Well, thank you again, Brit. It's always awesome talking to you. I feel like I just did therapy every time I talk to you. So thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. It's fun. I love what I do. And like I said, the tools just really do work, because there is help. And that's the thing that I say to people often, these are muscles we can learn. If you're living with doubt and worry, that's a muscle that you have, you're working out. Start working that one out and start working out self-compassion and, start to see life from a different lens.
I will end the show with this quote that was shared to my Facebook page by Brittany Bobstein. Never waste your time trying to explain who you are to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Thank you so much for listening to Virago 24/7. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and please give us 5-star ratings. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Virago24_7 and on Facebook at Virago24/7. And just connect with us and share your story. We'd love to hear from you.